Hi, I'm renforshort, and I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
I first got wind of you through Mike Shinoda, and like that was the introduction to your music. And since then, I've been like really on top of like your releases, and like I'm loving everything that you've been releasing. During leading up to today, like what do you feel has been that like evolution process for you as like trying to figure out your sound and the way that you write and the team that you collaborate with?
Yeah, for me, it took a while to really like solidify, the group of people that I wanted to really work with, or like the individuals that I wanted to work with. It's taken up to the end of writing this album. So, I mean, I still work with new people all the time, but I really just love collaborating with new people because there's always like an opportunity to evolve my sound, or like, my writing or whatever, because, there's other people that have more ideas than I do, or have different ideas than I do, or would do something differently than I would. And, just as much as I love like doing things on my own, I also have to be like, okay, this is really important to be collaborative, because like, this is how you get the best of, what could have been.
And at the same time, like I see that Jeff is like the Jeff, I don't know how to say his name, Hazen.
And yeah.
He's like a constant collaborator of yours, from all the way back from Waves to up until now with this record. So that evolution between the two of you in the studio, whether it's like co-writing or co-producing, like how do you feel like he's helped you kind of step out of that comfort zone with each like release that you kind of have?
Yeah. Jeff is like my brother at this point. Like, I love Jeff so much. And Jeff knows, he's the only person that like will push me and will be like, Lauren, this isn't good. Lauren, this is how it could be better. Like, when Jeff says something is good or like great, like that's the highest compliment you could ever get. He's like, I need that, because I need like that kind of like, because a lot of the time you'll, get into a session with someone and the song's bad, and they'll be like, this is great. And I'm like, it's not. Like, objectively, it's not good, And Jeff is just like super honest. And I love that. Like, so, I mean, over time, like me and Jeff have just like kind of almost evolved together, which is really nice. We've like grown together in a way. And yeah, I mean, I admire him so much. I admire his talent. He's so talented and amazing, and he deserves everything. And I don't know. He's just the best. I love him so much.
I feel like it's perfect because I feel like lately you've been opening up more and more in your music, more vulnerable, more just talking about personal things. And I feel like that makes it easier having someone that's been there since the beginning and basically knows your story without you having to kind of retell it over and over to a different team or a different person. Leading up to this new single, like how do you feel like that that chemistry was this time around? And like how would you feel like he helped you like step out of your comfort zone for this particular song, Julian?
Well, me and Jeff drove to the studio that day together, and we were in this like era of being so obsessed with the Strokes. Always am. And we're just like, God, like every Stroke song feels like it's like made in a factory. It's so perfect. Like, it's just so perfect. Why not just write a song for Julian? So I like came into the session that day and I was like, guys, let's just write a love song to Julian, Casablancas. Like, sometimes I go into sessions and I'm like, this is a joke, like I'm going to write like a jokey song. And sometimes it works out. Sometimes it really doesn't. And like, this one was that to me. And like, it's just fun to like step into this character and be like, I'm so obsessed with Julian Casablancas. Like, yo, like we're homies. Like, meanwhile, like it's Julian Casablancas, So he definitely was like, okay, Lauren, like we can do that, because he like understood that concept and he was like, okay, it's cool.
I love it because when I first looked at the title, like all I could think of was him.
Yeah,
All I could think of was him.
Yeah.
I was like, I really hope this is what it's about.
It is. I literally like posted on my Instagram last night the lyrics to Julian, and he like responded to my DM, and he was like,
really?
Dang. Because I'm like, this poor man thinks I'm like some crazy person just like posting these lyrics about him on Instagram and like tagging him, or not lyrics. It could be like, because I didn't have any like snippet of the song. So he's probably like, what?
It's like a love story.
Exactly. He's like, who is this bitch?
So writing something like this, for example, do you feel like it was a different way of writing for you? Like, did you, or was it similar to like your previous material that you've done in the past?
It's definitely different. Like, it's not about, what I typically write about. But there's like the song, like the idea of the song is like, idolizing someone, and like to like kind of an unhealthy extent. And well, it's like very fun and playful. It's also like, oh, she's crazy. Like what I said, like when he saw it, he's probably like, oh, she's crazy. But yeah, I mean, at a point it like becomes, unhealthy when you're like, oh, yo, like, yeah, I'm homies with Julian, but it's like, he doesn't know who I am, So yeah, there's a million ways to look at that song and be like, oh, this is so cute, or like, this is creepy as like.
Talk to me about like vocally, like the way that you like as you lead up to this record, like, and the songs that you've released prior to it. How do you feel like you've kind of like evolved vocally during this process? Like, do you feel like each song has its own different kind of vocal range, vocal technique that you do? Like, what has that process been like for you?
Yeah, I definitely like, for me, I love trying new things like vocally, and, just always, trying to, one up and myself. And there were a couple of moments where we were like, this song like needs to be like belted almost, like we need to just reach into that higher range, which is something that I like never really do, because like for me, it's just not really my style. But there's moments on the album where that like feels like it's still me, but it's like super, like it needs to be there. So definitely like did a bunch of takes of like, stuff like that, like the really high vocal takes and like whatever. And I was like on with my vocal coach, and I was like, please help me out. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, I mean, vocally, like it's the same range as I typically would like be in, but there's some moments where it's like, I just brought it up because it was like, why not? We've never done this.
Now, the fact that you wrote this about Julian, that kind of guitar sound is very similar to like what something like the Strokes would kind of create. Was this like done on purpose, or was that like something that just kind of naturally happened during the recording process of this, or the production process of this song?
I mean, it was all on purpose. Everything in that song, like production wise, was super intentional because I wanted it to sound like a Stroke song. Like even the effect on my voice is like, Strokesy kind of like muffled vocal. Because I was like, if I'm doing it, I'm doing the thing. Like I'm going all in, and it's just my ode to the Strokes. Overall, everything. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you nailed it. So congrats with that. Back to your song that you released prior to this one, I Miss Myself. Like, it's cool how music hits everyone differently. You have your own story, I have mine, the audience, the fans have their own. But I love it like when an artist creates a song and it feels like it's like literally speaking to me. And that's how I felt with I Miss Myself, because for the last few months, like I feel like I keep thinking back like, oh, I remember when I was like this, or I that time when I did this. And that song kind of like made me realize nobody's ever written about something like that. So what kind of kickstarted that writing process for I Miss Myself? And like, how was that writing process like for you, like being vulnerable in a different kind of sense?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I felt the same thing. I was like, I haven't heard a song like this before, and it's the last song I wrote for the project. And once everything was kind of like the idea was solidified and everything, the majority of the track list was picked, I was like, okay, there's like this project is about, losing parts of yourself and like missing parts of yourself. And that's a feeling that was like super amplified for me this past year. It was like a weird year, like reintegrating back into society after that, just like being, you're like starting a new life again, if that makes sense. Because there's like life before the and life after that, even though it's still very much real and going on. But yeah, I mean, I was like chasing all these things or all these experiences like from before happened. So I'd play music I would listen to when I was like 15, or like, walk on routes that I would walk on when I was 15, and like just do all this stuff that would like bring me back to myself and make me feel like I was like almost like whole again. Like just that like nostalgia just brought me back. So yeah, I don't know. I was kind of just like thinking about who I was and like what over the past 2 years I have done to myself to like kind of strip my character of my, like strip me of my character in a way, if that makes sense. So yeah, I just sat down and I was like, I'm just gonna like give myself a hard time right now. I'm gonna write this song and like just really like overanalyze my brain and like how I feel, and hopefully that works. And it was hard to write. It was a hard one to write for sure. But I'm happy with how it turned out. And I think it works very well as an intro for the album, which is great. Very exciting.
Do you feel like that type of vulnerability was a lot harder than writing about like a personal experience with either a relationship or a friendship or whatnot?
Yeah, because like your relationship with yourself is almost like the most private relationship that you have, So it's, hard to kind of get into your brain and be like, this is what I'm feeling. I'm going to put this in a song and put it out in the world. And like maybe people feel the same way that I do. Maybe they don't, but like I tried, and I'm just being honest. People do feel that way. And like typically people, feel what you feel or have felt what you felt. Like at least one person in the world can like feel something that you felt. So I think just like I knew like in my gut, I was like, this makes sense. Like this is going to resonate with people in some way. And I'm just going to put it out, whatever. So yeah, I mean, that.
You said this was the last song that you did for this album. So was it literally like a song that just happened? Like it basically just wrote itself? Or is this like a song that from the beginning of the writing process for the album, you kind of had in mind to talk about something like this?
It was more so when I like solidified the concept, which was kind of like halfway through writing. And then when I got in to write that, the intro, I was like, I know exactly what I need to say. I know what's missing, and I know what the intro needs to be. Like, I know what I need to preface for people to like listen to this album, and it makes sense. So yeah, I mean, it kind of came like the concept, it came pretty easily because everything was done. And I was like kind of filling in the blanks at that point.
The debut album is finally literally around the corner. I feel like the debut album is like the most exciting record to release, but at the same time, the most scary record to release. Mm-hmm. What kind of challenges did you find yourself facing in order to get to this point today?
Yeah. For me, the album, I think there was a lot of like everyone was in kind of different spaces. I think a lot of people couldn't agree on songs, and there was a lot of like compromises made on every end, which was like kind of weird. And I think that was like the biggest struggle, was kind of just like for me to try and be assertive, which I didn't do well. Like, honestly, I didn't do a good job of being assertive. I'm so happy with the project. Like, I'm so happy with it. I just wish I would have been more assertive in some ways. And I think, like, this is just like completely honest. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really happy with, like, you know, the project, and there's just a couple of songs I would have done differently, but yeah, I think that's the thing. Yeah.
At the end of the day, as long as you're happy with what you've created.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it out if I wasn't, like,
exactly.
you know.
Exactly. But I'm glad that Julian made it to the record.
Me too. And it almost didn't. It almost didn't. I was like, this is up. This is where I'm putting my foot down.
Yeah, like, you can't release it just as a single. It has to be a body of work.
Exactly.
Well, I'm super excited for Dear Amelia to drop July 8th. I'm also excited that you are going to head out on your North American tour, headline tour, in September. What can fans look forward to as far as these performances that you're going to be doing?
We're gonna have a good time. I'm gonna share with people, like, you know, the night of that show, like, are we gonna dress up? Are we gonna do something fun? Just something to, like, bring everyone together. A lot of energy. I'm so excited to perform the album. That's the thing. I'm like, I dream about it. I already, like, dream about, like, the lighting setup. I dream about the movement. I dream about everything. Like, I'm so beyond excited. And I think it's just gonna be a really good time. I'm also so nervous. I literally, I didn't sleep for 2 months before I announced the tour. I was so scared. I was, like, up in bed, like, I'm terrified. But here we are. We're going strong, and we're gonna have an amazing time. Headline shows are my favorite thing in the world to do. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. It'll be a lot of fun.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. And for your New York date, you should hint at Julian to come on stage with you and just be part of the song, like, right?
Come on, we kind of look alike. I'm like, come on, let's go.
Make it happen. Make it happen. Start putting feelers out there.
Oh, I will try. I will try my hardest.
Yeah. Lauren, well, I'm excited to finally get to talk to you. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. Best of luck for this North American tour. I will catch you at the LA date. And yeah, I'm excited for Dear Amelia to drop July 8th.
Me too. Thank you so much.